You're listening to Shoe In, covering the ins and outs of all things footwear, from sneakers to heels, loafers to slippers, and every type of shoe in between. Brought to you by the FDRA, the Footwear Industries Association focused on retail, trade, politics, and fashion, helping create and enhance conversations on all things footwear. And now your footwear insiders, Matt Priest and Andy Polk.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Happy 2022. We did it. We made it through. Now we got tutus for the new year. And I think like most of you, Matt, out there, I'm entering the new year. I'm happy. I've got my resolutions, but I'm also looking at my credit card bill and seeing all the transactions that I have to pay off now in January. So there's also some big transactions that took place in the footwear industry.
Oh, I like that. You can hook the nightly news, man. I like that segue.
There we go. Brian Williams here. So there's a lot of transactions taking place. We've seen a lot of M&A. We've seen a lot of movement in the footwear industry, buying brands, companies finding synergy together through partnerships, but also a lot of stuff, typically happens with the brands, but retail is starting to heat up too. So Matt, as we look towards the new year and we start to see the footwear marketplace kind of reshape itself, who do we have on today to talk about some of that?
Yeah, I'm very excited about this, about today's episode, Andy, because there was a transaction at the end of 21 that caught our eye where two of our members come together, which is pretty unique. And so we have Mark Worden back, who's the president and CEO of Shoe Carnival. He was just on a couple of weeks ago. And he's joined by Brent Barkin, who's the president and CEO of Shoe Station. So Shoe Carnival bought Shoe Station, and we want to unpack that with both of our executives here. And so, gentlemen, welcome to the Shoe In Show.
Thank you.
Hey, Matt. Hey, Andy. Thanks so much for having me back. And Happy New Year's.
Yeah.
I got you. Thanks, Matt and Andy. Good to see you again.
Of course. Yeah. So, Mark, we'll start with you. What caught your eye when it comes to Shoe Station? What was it that Shoe Carnival was in need of when you went out and purchased the Shoe Station retail, platform, if you will?
Well, we're coming off the heels of our best year in our 43-year history. During the pandemic, we briefly slipped below $1 billion revenue company. And during 2021, not only did we grab that back, but we obliterated it. Through Q3, which are released, sales were up over $300 million versus the prior year. Traffic was up over 40%, and our balance sheet was never stronger. But we were looking for, how do we take this to the next billion and really start to get on a growth mission here for Shoe Carnival? And so our team has been thinking for the last period of time, as part of our strategic plan, how do we get a complementary banner to go into markets where Shoe Carnival is strong with a certain demographic, but not able to reach a different demographic that's higher end, more affluent, more suburban. So as part of our growth strategy, we were thrilled to have an opportunity to come together with the Barkin family. We've known, admired, competed for decades, and couldn't have found a better partner for a banner that we think is complementary to Shoe Carnival, who we can learn together and truly go after, not only a $1.3 billion Shoe Carnival brand, but a multi-billion-dollar company with multiple brands in the years ahead. So that's the impetus for it.
Yeah, well, that makes a lot of sense. So, Brent, before we ask you a similar question, why was Shoe Carnival attractive to you all? Why don't you give us a quick kind of shoe story? We ask this question pretty regularly of our guests. And so what's within 90 seconds, what's kind of the Barkin shoe story that led you to this point in history with Shoe Carnival?
Sure. So, I come from a family where we had footwear retail. Both of my grandparents were in footwear retail at one point. My father's parents and my mother's parents. My father was a Senior VP, General Merchandise Manager at Rich's Department Stores, based out of Atlanta, now a division of Macy's, and was, looking to go out on his own. And in 1984, founded Shoe Station in an old tire and battery store in Mobile, Alabama. And that's the station in Shoe Station. And then pretty much knew he wanted to start a chain from day one, and financed internally, never borrowed money. One store became 2, became 10, we're now at 21 stores and looking to grow.
Awesome. And how is when you're looking at your target audience for Shoe Station, is it families? Is it mothers? Who are you guys zeroing in on for your customers?
Yeah, I think, and Mark did a great job pointing this out. I think it's families, and it's moms, it's soccer moms, it's the dads, it's the grandparents, and it's the kids. And we look for the right centers, typically open centers, strip centers, to showcase with fellow soft good retailers, partner, and go after the entire family. We want this to be a trip that they take when they're little children, all the way up through when they have their own children and grandchildren.
Awesome. And then same question for you that Matt asked Mark is, when they approached and you guys started discussing this, what made it attractive? What makes it work that you think that you guys can find value on both sides?
Well, I think I get back to kind of my father's thought that, that the Shoe Station brand, and as we call it, the Shoe Station banner, meant something, had its own unique value proposition. And I was looking, for my family and for my father's legacy to continue to grow that brand and expand. And we've just been ecstatic to find a partner that shares that exact vision. That Mark, and hopefully I'll speak for Mark, wants to see Shoe Station, in a lot more cities and continue to grow. And for me and my thought process on what would my father want, that was the biggest reason why I thought this was an excellent partnership.
Great. And how do you guys, like, obviously, and when we had Mark on a couple of weeks ago, he talked a lot about expanding the brick and mortar footprint. He didn't tell us this was happening. So but when we're talking about expanding Shoe Carnivals and adding more retail outlets, and obviously now looking at you and thinking of the same thing, how then does the e-commerce side work? Maybe we're getting ahead of our skis, but obviously we're living in this world where e-commerce sales are growing and growing. We do know that family retail will still continue to grow because mom has to go in and make sure that she smashes down the kids' toes to make sure the shoes fit, right? Remember a lot of that growing up. I had a lot of bruised toes from my mother to make sure they fit, and then size it up a little bit, right? But as we look at e-com, how do you guys see that working and functioning, and how can that grow as well?
Well, we when we talk about e-com, I talk as much about e-com as I do, or try to talk more about omni-channel than I do even e-com. So I see that, brick and mortar retail is, especially with footwear, is an integral part, to how people buy shoes, how they fit accurately. If somebody knows the pattern that they're looking for, e-com only is perfect for them. They know this, they know the fit, they know that exact shoe and that exact size fits. For most other people, and this is just a tale of open shelf, self-help footwear, you want to try the shoes on. You want to walk around in the shoes, not just your children's shoes, your own shoes. You want to see how they look on your feet. And that's, oftentimes very difficult to do from a computer screen. So we're looking at it as an omni-channel experience where they can, look at the shoes online. They can buy them online, pick up in store, or they can shop for them online, come in store to actually purchase. And whether it's even as sophisticated as, some of the things that Shoe Carnival's come up with, where they can do, partner with the Uber Eats of the world, and other techniques such as Instacart, where they can actually, buy the product online, have it shipped from a local store, and get that merchandise possibly by the end of the day. So those kind of omni-channel experiences, we think, make brick and mortar more and more important. And for us at Shoe Station, we had the resources to do a little of it. And now it just expands our horizons to really take a market and dominate the customer, whether they're looking at it from their phone, or whether they're looking at it from their laptop, or whether they're in their store, can't find their size, and they buy it from another store. And when they get, home that evening, possibly have it at home.
Yeah. So Mark, you were bullish on when we had our last conversation. I would encourage people to go and download that via the various podcast channels, but you're bullish about brick and mortar. And so now that you've had this purchase, talk to me about, as the leader of kind of the mothership, if you will, how are you going to divvy up and kind of determine what is a Shoe Station banner and where that's going to be located versus what is Shoe Carnival as you look to expand? And then what's kind of some low-hanging fruit that as you walk in the Shoe Station door and you're here to bring those resources and deploy those resources, as Brent just talked about, what are some of those things like top of the list? You know what, we can knock this out in the first year, and it'll take time, but it's something that is our expertise and we're ready to go. And so talk to me about kind of how you're thinking through the relationship between the two companies.
Good. Well, we're retail first and bricks driven, and everything Brent said I agree with for opportunity, but we're going to put our heavy investment on rapidly expanding the Shoe Station brand as a Shoe Station brand. So I think that's important. I get that question everywhere I go. We joined up with Brent because we believe the Shoe Station banner, with our infrastructure and resources and his deep knowledge of the Southeast consumer markets, competition, we're going to be able to multiply the store count of Shoe Station banners rapidly. So that's first and foremost. The things that we're excited about, and I can't answer it yet, Matt, we don't know enough yet about where we overlap and where we play complementary. I think we'll be spending a lot of time in 22 really investigating the customer similarities and where we do better at different demographics. We have a hypothesis. And similarly, where the Shoe Station banner has a different demographic, we see then mapping out the opportunity across the areas of strength, of course, where Brent's banner already is, but then we're not going to be limiting ourselves just to that area. We believe this is a tremendous opportunity to capture dislocated department store shoppers who no longer want to be either enclosed due to COVID or other reasons, or they just don't have that experience that now has shifted to an open air shopping environment where both of our banners predominantly operate. So we see this as a tremendous opportunity for that, but there's also a lot of dislocated shoppers in the family footwear channel. Many athletic brands are moving to DTC strategies, and people we compete with all throughout the South and then up and down the East Coast of America are finding themselves might not be the preferred destination for those looking for the best brands in athletic and some of the best brands in non-athletic. We're going to be able to utilize those dislocations of customers to, again, rapidly grow and multiply the Shoe Station revenues, the Shoe Station locations, and complementary take market share, we see. So lots to learn.
Yeah, for sure.
The second part you talked about, though, Brent's, I'm thrilled Brent's joined the team in a new role to lead new business development primarily and integration secondarily. And his expertise to develop new business is just that. Help us multiply the store base quickly, and multiply can be just that. Many, many times we see the opportunity for in the years ahead. Integration, there's a lot of low-hanging fruit, as you asked about, Matt. I think we were most pleased when we came together that the infrastructure, the technology, the supply chain, all the back office functions, we can go through a process in figuring out where Shoe Station has better, great, we can adopt it this way. Where Shoe Carnival had better or more scale or better efficiencies, we can offer that to the Shoe Station banner. And so we're not seeing 22 be a growth year per se. We're seeing 22 be a priority of integrate, learn, and ready for a hockey stick growth and exponential growth then in 23 and 24.
Yeah, I get to know you year. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with the two experiences, I think the Shoe Carnival retail experience is quite unique. So I can't imagine there's as much activity in a Shoe Station, having never been in a Shoe Station. So maybe talk to me, Mark, we'll start with you, and then Brent, your perspective. What's kind of the different retail experience between the two? And will you deploy the almighty Shoe Carnival wheel at a Shoe Station, or is there going to be super kind of demarcation lines between the two experiences?
Yeah, I can't say forever, but we see this as two distinct brands, just like any corporation that has very different banners. And we're going to be working towards ensuring it's a unique identity, a unique promise, and a unique experience, with similarities where it's not a differentiator, like back of the house or technology. The Shoe Carnival business predominantly serves $50,000 to $70,000 households and below, is more urban, and has a high product skew towards urban type of products in many of our markets. It's high energy, music blasting, mic and promotional experience, basketball shots, Nike shops. It's a very unique experience. We don't see that being the Shoe Station experience. There might be elements that brand likes, but it won't be that. And then, Brent, maybe you could talk about your experience is tremendous and draws traffic that blow us away in the markets. Just absolutely. We were so sick of competing with him because of how much traffic he would draw in Alabama and Mississippi. We said we probably should just come together and stop fighting this fight.
That's right. So no, Mark, dead on. I think the goal is that we have two unique experiences that cater to, while there may be overlap, that oftentimes will cater to different customers. So, we do get some customers in line. We have some events, whether it's a senior day event, a vendor day event. We'll do giveaways to get customers in our store. So there's a different, I'll say a different level of excitement, a different dynamic. But we've in the past had been quite promotional. We're talking, over a decade ago, and we've realized that we can promote certain items and then really showcase brands and define some better brands. So, Mark alludes to whether it's an Allegory or a Bionic or a Brooks or a Hoka or an UGG. We have those brands that the customer is not just obviously they appreciate a value, but they're coming in for that brand and for that premium experience for some of those brands, and to find brands. And to find styles that they wouldn't find everywhere else. Mark alluded to department stores. There's a big vacuum for department stores and how they've moved on.
I'm curious too, because I think as we look forward in 2022 and beyond, and this conversation keeps happening again and again, but it's how we capture eyes, and where you talked a little bit about that for the in-store experience, right? Both of you have talked a little bit about drawing people in and creating a creative experience. But how do we do that, not just for in-store, but also for online? Because there's this big debate right now about how costly digital is to get eyes, much less conversions on the sites. And we've seen the shift where it's like at one point everybody was doing circulars, and then that went away and it went to Facebook, and Facebook's too expensive, so they went back to circulars. I'm just curious, as you guys look forward, how you talk to consumers and how you build a marketing experience for consumers, both digitally and it, like, is local television and radio still relevant, or, is it an all above strategy? I mean, how do we look at that going forward for footwear consumers to capture their attention as we kind of keep going forward in digital, but also back after hopefully emerging from this COVID nightmare, back to our normal, whatever that is, lives going out and about?
Yeah, I mean, digital marketing is the secret sauce and customer relationship management. We've invested millions in the last few years to get us ready for this point in 2022, where we have over 28 million Shoe Carnival customers now. We're going to be working with the Shoe Station team as well to radically expand that base and think through how that works. But we now can talk to them, Andy, at any moment of the day, whether it's right here on my mobile phone. Both banners have a tremendous ability to talk to a consumer, tell them what's new or news or exciting that moment. We have the opportunity through all of the digital channels and our knowledge to know you differently, Andy, than you, Matt, and Brent, and each of your families. And we're finding that the longer we connect during the pandemic, the more new customers we brought in during 21. And the biggest opportunity we see, probably even bigger than this exciting acquisition, is with the millions and millions of new customers that tried us during the pandemic. Our opportunity now is to convert them into multi-use buyers again in 22. If we can do that, and which we're confident we can, the sky's the limit of how fast we become a multi-billion-dollar company. If you think about the purchase occasion, if we just convert some of those millions from one buyers to two buyers, it doesn't take too many of those before we move from a 1.3 billion plus the Shoe Station banner to a $2 billion plus company. So we're excited, but we're digital first when it comes to outreach. We're bricks first when it comes to focusing where we want people to shop. And the secret sauce we're not going to talk about is how we use those all to come together to drive exponential traffic growth. Like we shared, 40% growth traffic through Q3 reported numbers in our banner. That was remarkable, up significantly from 2019, and millions and millions and millions more online and in our CRM program. So
I think that makes a lot of sense what you're saying about digital first strategy, but brick first sales and focusing on that. Because I think the problem is we've talked so much about data, right? And how much data we need to collect, but most companies collect the data and don't do anything with it. I think we're actually in an age of analysis, right? That's the challenge, is like making sense of the data that we have. And I think what's really great is this tech. I think we're in a whole new age of tech. People may not realize it, but like when someone like Facebook rebrands to Meta, we don't know what that's going to be, but we do know if someone's investing in these strange new weird technologies, something really cool is going to come out of it that we don't expect. And I think as we keep going down this path of software maturing, having that amount of data and then being able to analyze it then means like Matt buys a pair of running shoes every April. And that because the data tells you, and then all of a sudden the system's set where in March it emails Matt and says, hey, here's 10% off for two, right? So then you're like actually able to target it and make, and Matt would buy 2 or 3 pairs. Don't worry. He'll be the guy who's going to help you get there.
That's my MO. That is my MO.
But I think that's where we're going, right? And it's a really exciting prospect to be able to, that you built the database, and then now that there's software that can actually facilitate those relationships. This is the problem that people don't get. So many people look at that and see transaction. I think the brands that will do well facilitate relationships and trust in order to make those conversions happen. And it seems like you guys are really built around community and trust and building those relationships.
I think you're spot on, and it's really evolved. If I flash back 20 years ago when I was retail food at Kroger, we had endless data and some of the first loyalty programs, but didn't really know what to do with it 2 decades ago. I can say now we have the capability to do just what you said, to analyze it, to have people then translate it into buys, to translate it into real estate strategy, to translate it into market comms, to translate it just into community events that really resonate, whether that's in Alabama or upstate New York. So you're spot on, Andy. And I think the retailers who have the capability and take action versus just get buried in data have a chance to win. The others, well, they'll be left far behind.
So one last question, Brent, we'll start with you, and then we'll draw this conversation to a close. I can't thank you both enough for coming on and kind of helping us peek behind the curtain that is this transaction. It's a seismic one for our industry for sure. And so we appreciate you coming on and sharing this with us. So real quick, Brent, like the new year, we all have New Year's resolutions. This started off where Andy talking about his New Year's resolutions. What is yours as it relates to this transaction? At the end of the year, what will you have hoped to accomplish in this new relationship and in your new role? And then Mark, will let you close out and answer the question as well.
Yeah, I think, part of my title, it's that whole integration piece of really trying to get so where we understand each other. I think a lot of this has to do, Mark alluded to, it's that understanding really the difference between a Shoe Station and a Shoe Carnival, being able to define that internally and then express that to the customers so that we then see where else to go. Obviously, from a more practical side, there's a lot of integration we have to do, whether it's technology, loyalty program, the list goes on and on. So I think my resolution is just to make, this transition, the integration as seamless as possible, because there's so many resources that Shoe Carnival has that we can use and build upon to have this, 22 be the runway to a takeoff in 23, 24. So, really getting that integration right. That's my resolution.
I love it. Mark, what about you?
If I flash a year ahead, I'd like first the Barkin family to say that was a really good decision coming together with this team. We have a similar culture, similar values, and similar aspirations. So I would love to see that play out first and foremost on a human side. Second, I'd like to see Brent, just multiply the banner his dad created and his family have built, and start to get into that mode where we can multiply, the geographic footprint as we enter 2023 and 24. And third, I'd love to be able to learn as much as we can this year to truly grab market share from, all those doing less effective than Shoe Station in that market, or less effective than Shoe Carnival in ours. So I'm excited about all three of those opportunities.
Great. And I'm sure Zoom and Google Maps are really excited for you guys to get on together and look at all these new geographic locations.
Sure.
You're burning up
maps already.
It's probably maps in your offices with circles and, and all sorts of things.
Arts.
That's awesome. Well, gents, thank you so much for joining us today, folks. This is Shoe and Show, the Footwear Industry's podcast, talking about all things footwear, specifically related to the footwear business. Our goal is to bring executives, leaders, and experts to you every single Monday to talk about a different aspect of the footwear industry and marketplace to help you do your job a little bit better. We hope you get some ideas and some insights and some ways that the market's shifting and moving in our industry, our dynamic industry. 2021 was a record year despite all the headwinds that we had. We hope that 2022 for your family is prosperous. We hope your shoe sales are prosperous, and we hope that you stay healthy. Please stay close to FDRA. We know that there's continued supply chain issues, product issues, inventory issues, and there's going to continue to be throughout 2022. And as your Footwear Industries Association, our job is to help you navigate that, to help empower you, to help bring people together to find collective solutions to common challenges. We thank you for listening today. Go to shoeandshow.com for our full catalog. Please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Let your friends know about our great podcast, talking about something different every single week. Again, thank you. Until next time, Shoe In is out.
Shoe In has been brought to you by the FDRA, the Footwear Industries Association focused on retail, trade, politics, and fashion, helping create and enhance conversations on all things footwear. For information about FDRA, visit fdra.org.